Hi friends, and welcome to this session on ratio and proportion. So we have already done our fractions and percentage. This ratio and proportion, you can say, is an extension of the concept of fraction or percentages, right? So let's see what we are going to do in ratio and proportion. So we would do certain definitions and then we would do few problems. So this is what is agenda for ratio and proportion, and it is an important topic. There can be 1 or 2 questions in your CSAT exam, so be very careful while listening to this session. So ratio and proportion it is. What is a ratio? A ratio is represented by A colon B, which means it can be written as A by B. It is comparison of two quantities. So it's nothing but comparison of two quantities. So when we say two numbers are in ratio 3:5, what does this mean? This means that if one number is 3, the other number would be 5. If one number is 6, the other number would be in the same so we have multiplied 3 by 2, we would multiply 5 by 2 as well, so the number would be 10. So now the fraction 6 by 10 is equivalent to 3 by 5, right? Similarly 15 by and 25. So if two numbers are in ratio 3:5, they can be 3 or 5, 6 or 10, 6 and 10, or 16 by 25, or 15 by 25, and so on and so forth. So all these numbers are in ratio 3:5, right? So we are comparing these numbers, right, in ratio. So what does this mean? Why are we using ratio, right? So for example, if there is a solution in which the ratio of milk and water is 1:2, right? So a solution where milk to water is equal to 1:2. This means that every one part is water, every one part is milk, and every 2 parts is water, right? So this means if, for example, we have 3 liters of this solution, right? Then one part of this would be milk, which means 1 liter would be milk, and 2 liters would be water, right? So now if there is X amount of solution, right? So then milk would be what? Milk would be 1/3 of that X, right? 1/3 of that X. If there is X liter, so 1/3 of that X would be milk, and 2/3 of that X would be water. So now we can find the volume of milk and water separately, but their ratio, which means their content in the water, remains in this ratio, right? In Hindi we say ratio is anupat, right? So their anupat is the same, which is 1:2, right? So for example, in gold we say that it is 22 karat gold, right? But in jewelry, gold jewelry, we say it's 22 karat gold, but originally it's 24 karat, right? So this means 2 karat is differential, so there is 2 karat which is something else added to it, right? So that the ratio of gold jewelry is 22 karat, so that's also a ratio. Now what is proportion, right? So if two numbers are in ratio A:B, another two are in C:T, when they are equal, we say, then they are represented by 2 colons, we say A:B is in proportion to C:D. So 3:5 is in proportion with 6:10, right? Or it can be written as 3/5 is equal to 6/10. So this is the definition of proportion. We don't have to do much about this definition. It is never asked what is the definition of proportion or something like that. What is asked is direct proportion or indirect proportion. So there may be question which says that A is directly proportional to B. It means what? It means that A can be written as K times B, right? Now this means what? This means that A by B is equal to a constant number, right? So as b increases, a would also increase, right? So let's say that a and b are two numbers such that a is directly proportional to b, right? So a would be equal to k times b, k times b. Now if a becomes double, if b becomes double, so what would happen to a? A would also become double, right? So if b becomes 2b, a will become 2a, right? If b becomes b by 2, a would also become a by 2, because a by b would also be a constant term. So they are directly proportional. So as b increases, a would also increase. So this is important to understand what is direct proportion. Now there is something called inverse proportion as well, which means a is, so this is the sign of proportion which is similar to our alpha. A is proportional to 1 by b, then we say that a is inversely proportional to b. Now in this case, if a is doubled, b would become half, right? In this case, what is constant? A into b is equal to constant. K is a constant term. Now if b is doubled, a should become half. If b is halved, a should become double. So as b increases, a decreases. So this is called an inverse relationship, right? So we can find, we all know the formula of speed and distance and time, right? Speed is equal to distance by time. Now if distance is constant, right? If distance is constant, then speed and time are inversely proportional, which means that if we increase the speed, then time taken to cover the same distance would decrease, right? So for example, let's put the things in perspective by taking an example. If d is equal to 200, which we have to cover, right? And now speed was, let's say, 100 kilometers per hour, right? So time taken would be 2 hours. Now if the speed is doubled, the time would be halved. So for example, if speed becomes 200, the time would become 1 hour. If speed becomes 400, which means speed has become 4 times, time would become 1/4. So initially it was 2 hours, now it would become 2 by 4, which is half an hour. So this is how the proportion works, and it is very important because it would be asked, it would be seen in many questions that something is directly proportional, something is inversely proportional, and all that stuff, right? Now there is another concept which is comparing the ratios, which is not very important, but still we would cover it. It says that if a ratio a by b is less than 1, then this is true, which means that if we subtract x from a and x from y, the new ratio would be less than a by b, and if we add x and add y, the new ratio would be greater than a by b. If a by b is greater than 0, then things become reverse and this result follows. Just read this result and see if you can work with it as and when required, right? We'll just take an example. So a by b less, so if it is 1 by 2, which is less than 1, right? Then if we add 1 to it, 1 to numerator and 1 to denominator, it would become 2 by 3. So now we know that 2 by 3 is greater than 1 by 2. Now, right? So this is how we are going to use it as and when required. Now these are basic terminologies of ratio and proportion, and we don't need anything more than this. In books you would find definitions of alternando, dividendo, componendo and all that stuff, which is not required as far as our CSAT is concerned, or as far as any exam, bank PO or something like that is concerned. You are never asked to find an alternando or a dividendo or a componendo or something like that. You are asked few applications of ratio and proportion. So we are going to do few questions and see how to apply the concept of ratios and proportion. So here is your first question, which says the ratio of boys and girls in a class is 4:3. If there are 490 students in the class, what will be the number of girls, right? So you have 2 minutes, just try and do this question, and after that we'll do it together. So let's see how to do it. So the ratio of boys and girls is 4:3, which means if there are 4x boys, there would be 3x girls, and total number of students would be 7x, right? So we can say that the number of girls is 3/7 of the total number of students, right? These are the number of girls if we want to represent them in fractions, right? Out of every 7x students, 3x are girls. So 3/7 are the number of girls, right? And the total students are how many? They are 490. So 3/7 of 490 is our girls, right? So which means we have 210 girls. We can also do it through linear equations. Total number of students are 7x. So 7x is equal to 490. X becomes what? X becomes 70. And number of girls are 3x. So number of girls would be 3 into 70. But using ratios, we have found the fractions, right? What part of students are girls, what fractions of student are girls. So 3/7 of students are girls, and what are the total number of students? 490. So 3/7 of that are girls, which means there are 210 girls. So this is a very simple question and very easy to do. Now the next question says the two numbers are in ratio 3:7. If the LCM is 210, find the two numbers. Again 2 minutes, just try and solve it and we'll do it together. So let's do it. Two numbers are in ratio 3:1. This means the numbers are 3x and 7x, right? These are the two numbers and their LCM is given to be 210. LCM is what? LCM is just the multiplication of prime factors. So let's write prime factors of 210. It becomes 3 into 7. Here let's not take x, let's take a to avoid the confusion. So two numbers are 3a and 7a into 2 into 5, right? So these are the prime factors of our LCM are 210, right? Now how to find LCM we already know. We'll find the highest power of the factors. So 3's highest power is 1, it is here. 7 is here. So 2 should come from A, right? 2 should come from this A, and 5 should again come from this A. So A should be 2 into 5, right? Which means A should be 10, right? So we multiply it by 10, it becomes 30, and this becomes 70. Hence two numbers are 30 and 70. Their LCM would be 210, and in this way we can find it in less than 1 minute. So this is a very simple question, again very probable in a CSAT exam. Now question 3 says the ratio of the number of ladies to the gents in the party is 1:2, but when 2 ladies and 2 gents left, the ratio become 1:3. How many people were there in the party? Again You have got 1.5 minutes to do this question. Just do it and then we'll do it together. So let's do it. It says that two numbers are in ratio 1:2. So ladies and gents are in ratio 1:2. So if x are the number of ladies, gents would be 2x, right? Now when two of them leave, which means now ladies become x minus 2 and gents also become 2x minus 2. So the ratio would become 1:3. So x minus 2 divided by 2x minus 2 becomes 1:3. Now can we solve it? Yes, we can solve it and find what is x. So just go and solve for x, and this is how we do it. Again, a very probable question in our CSAT, a very easy one. We could have easily done it. Now the next question, which says a person distributes his pens amongst his 4 friends in the ratio 1:3, 1:4, 1:5, 1:6. What is the minimum number of pens he should have? So in these type of questions, when the ratios are given in fraction, right? Ratios are given in fractions. So we have to firstly make them in whole numbers. How to make them in whole numbers? Just take the LCM of the denominators and multiply that with these fractions. So LCM of, we have to take LCM of 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5 and 6. LCM would be what? LCM would be 60. If you just find the LCM, it would be 60. So just multiply these by 60, each fraction by 60. We would get the new ratio would be 20, ratio 15, ratio 12, ratio 10. So he has given the pens in this ratio, which means he has given them 20x plus 15x plus 12x plus 10x, total number of pens, which is 57x. So what should be the minimum number when x is equal to 1? So minimum is 57. So how to do it? Just convert these fractions into whole number ratio. And how to do it? Find the LCM of these denominators and multiply these fractions by that LCM to get the whole number fraction, right? So this is how we do this question. Very easy. Again, you just need to understand how to convert the fractions into whole number fraction. So now the next question. Price of diamond is directly proportional to square of its weight, right? If a diamond breaks into two equal parts, how much price of these two pieces decrease as compared to the original piece, right? So just take 1 or 2 minutes to try this question. So your trying starts now. let's do it. So he says price is directly proportional to the weight. So we can write, so let the price of diamond be P. It is equal to K times W square, right? Now the diamond breaks into two equal pieces. So the new weight would be, the new weight of each piece would be W by 2, right? Now the price of each piece, each new piece, let's say it would be new NP, right? It would be K times this whole square, right? So K times this square, right? Which means it is equal to what? It is equal to K into W by 4, right? So the price of new piece is 1/4 of the W square, right? Here it would be W square, which is equal to P, right? So KW square is equal to P. So the new price is P by 4. We have two such pieces. So the total price of two such pieces would be P by 4 plus P by 4, P by 2. So this is the new price of those two broken pieces. Original price was P, the final price was P by 2. So what is the ratio of the price? It is P by 2 by P, which is half. So the price has been halved, or it has become 50% of the original price, right? So it has halved, or it has become 50% of the original price. So this is how we use the concept of proportionality, right? Because how are we using the concept of proportionality? The change is happening in the weight, right? And we know the relationship between price and weight, and we are using that change to determine the new price. And this is how we solve the question. Now the last question in ratio and proportion. This question would also come in the mixture chapter or averages and mixture chapter. But nevertheless, let's do the question right now using ratio and proportion. So it says an advertisement for an orange juice claims that it contains 10% orange juice. How much pure orange juice must be added to 5 quarts of drink to obtain 40% orange juice? So just take 2 to 3 minutes, 2 minutes rather, to solve this question, and we'll do it together. So let's see how to do it. It says 10% of the drink is orange juice, is pure orange juice. So we have to find that how much more orange juice should be added to the drink so that we get 40% orange juice. Initially we are given 5 quarts of, or 5 dimensions of that drink, out of which 10% is orange juice. So how much orange juice is there? the pure orange juice, it's 0.5, right? Now we add some pure orange juice in it such that now it becomes 40%. Now let's add X amount of pure orange juice. So pure orange juice we would have is this much, right? 0.5 plus X. But since we are adding X liters, X quarts, the volume of the total drink would also increase. So the volume would become 5 plus X, right? And to find the percentage, we have to multiply it by 100 and it should give us 40, right? Right? So solving this, it becomes 0.5 plus X, just put it in brackets, is equal to 0.4 times 5 plus X, right? So again further solving it, it becomes 0.5 plus X is equal to 2 plus 0.4x, right? Solving this, we get 0.6x is equal to 1.5, or we can find x is equal to 15 by 6, which is equal to 5 by 2, which is equal to 2.5. So we have to add 2.5 quarts so that we get 40% orange juice, right? So this is how we use the concept of ratios as well as the percentages in this question. So this is all for our session on ratio and proportion. I hope that you are clear how to use ratio and proportion and how to solve various questions of it. We would be doing an exercise on all the three topics which we covered this week, which is fractions, percentages and ratio and proportion. After you do the exercises, you would be more confident about the concept and you would be able to solve every question of our exam. So I think this is all for this session. All the best for your preparation and keep learning with a good intention. Thanks and all the best.